Okay, I'll wait a minute. For anybody that should come in to this live stream, this is going to be for them. Okay, so I give this one here the name Answering Questions. My last live stream that I did here an hour or so ago caused a lot of controversy. Don't surprise me any. I didn't say I live that lifestyle because I don't. I said at one time my ex had wanted to. I was introduced to the lifestyle when I was with my son's mother. And I tried it for a while, didn't like it, got out of it, didn't want to anymore, period. End of story. Haven't since, but for the time I did do it, okay, it was what it was. But for now, no, I haven't lived it in years. Don't ever plan on living it again. Okay. So that's to my last live stream. I only showed you the community and what's going on in our society underneath people's noses. And I'm not going to agree or disagree with people who chose to go that route because I don't think we can mess up our society any more than it's messed up outside of the fall of our society. And I'm going to watch our society fall from people's behaviors, from people not educating themselves to what's going on around them. Okay, so, it's going to be hard for me to tell you any different. But I will say this: what I said about real love does exist, and what a lot of people's ideas out, men's ideas. I mean, I'm with Project Mayhem on the fact that they want to rise up, they want to take the power back. That's all one-sided. But I'm not with them on the fact that if you was to actually overturn the problem and get women's attention, that they should be submissive to you. Okay, I'm not with them in that. Well, hello, Wendell. I appreciate you being here. So what I did is no, absolutely not. So what I did here was I talked about a topic of what was going on in society that's been going on for I don't know how many years. Okay. I don't live that lifestyle. I haven't lived it in years. I tried it once. I lived it for a while with my ex. I didn't like it. I got out of it. She didn't like the fact that I didn't like it. It led to problems. It led to cheating. It led to everything that destroyed us. And I left her. She wanted to continue to live it. She wanted to continue. But does real love exist? Yes, it does. So go ahead and ask. Go ahead and ask away. Because that's what I want to do is I want to answer questions for people, okay, so that they can understand me better why I talked about that. These are topics I've never talked about before. So I figured I should talk about them, okay? But that's merely what that was, okay? So go ahead, ask away when in doubt. Oh, what time stand was I TFL? All from after elementary school was over when we had puppy love, children love, clear up to the time I was 28 years old. That's when I met my son's mother. Okay, and then I had a span of TFL after I left her. And then I had another girlfriend that didn't work out. Then I had another girlfriend, didn't work out. You know how that goes. And then I went a long time alone again. And then I met who I'm with now. Okay, so, but the majority of it was from The time I was a child, clipped to 28 years old. So this is, and that's also when I come up with the name TFL. And I had wrote it down what I feel and what I see going in society long before I ever brought it online. I had actually like a diary. I wrote it in my own little journal and had it put up. And then when I come online, this is where I gave the name TFL to the public, and this is when it came out. And this is when I started doing my research to find out why people were treating each other the way they were treating each other. So I think that's about the answer I can give you on that one if you want to know. If you got anything else you want to answer, ask, go ahead and ask. I mean, I wasn't trying to be sarcastic to anybody in my last live stream. I wasn't trying to cause controversy. I do believe I caused confusion and controversy, but the reality is the majority of people actually don't know what they're doing is all. What happened to me and Jerry? I don't like to put that public, but to be honest with you, Jerry has a high ego. Jerry told me he saw TFL, understood TFL, and knew what it was about. Then I hadn't done no TFL videos in a long time. I was all doing all political stuff with Jerry. Okay? And then Jerry stayed away from the TFL topic show when I had the live stream once a week. He tried to stay away from it. Then when I did a couple of TFL videos, Jerry attacked me behind the scenes. Jerry literally told me that I had mental issues and that I was a woman hater at this time in my life. Then he didn't apologize, and his excuse for not apologizing was because he's an asshole. Okay? And so, and his ego was high. So that's really what happened to me and Jerry. That's why Jerry and I don't associate. And then Jerry came up when he decided he wasn't going to associate with me no more and told everybody he was tired of being my victim. But in reality, he attacked me. I didn't attack him. So he just flipped the truth upside down on his head is all. So no, I don't associate with Jerry anymore. That's what happened between me and Jerry. So that you can understand where they came from. So what he did do though was showed me he never understood TFL or anything in the manosphere. He just lied to me and said he did. And he proved he didn't when the first time he seen a TFL video. Because he attacked me. Okay, so if he knew what TFL was and understood it, he wouldn't have attacked me. To attack me, he showed me he actually never understood it. He just lied. And I have a problem with deception and lies, and his ego allows him to not be honest with people. He wants to fly under the name of truthers and tell a lot of truth, but he also wants to deceive you at the same time. Sort of same thing the powers to be do, and it's because of his ego. It's not because I didn't like Jerry. I know in his heart he actually meant well, but if you're going to allow your ego to corrupt you and you're going to start deceiving people, it doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to come up here and deceive anybody. So, but that's really what happened to us, okay? So now back to real love. Does real love exist? I'm going to tell you it does because I had real love with my son's mother. We were together a lot of years. And for about 9 years of that time, she did really love me. There was not a doubt about it. There was not one doubt about it. The love was real from her heart. Okay? And that is not a lie. That's fact. Real love does exist. And for people who think it don't, it's because they don't know what they're doing. When I told when in doubt, when I told you what I told you that day on the phone, that's because that's what it has to be if you ever want to have real love. It has to start from friendship and become best friends and then become more than friends. And the reality is, it doesn't matter what your gender is. Nobody wants to feel lower than the other person, and nobody wants to be told what they can and can't do. We have a world full of people wanting to tell everybody what to think, what to do, and what they can and can't do. We have a world full of people trying to control the other person they're with. And we also have high domestic violence rates. We have a high divorce rate, and you have behaviors from this mentality that is destroying all of us. It's destroying both genders equally. Now you look at what's going on in society and how they've propped women up above the men, and you should be able to clearly see it. And I know that When in Doubt does see it. And yes, I agree with this Project Mayhem. The only thing I wouldn't agree with is if we could ever overturn this and straighten up things. You can't go back to tradition rules because, first off, that's to take things away from the women. Yes, they need to lose everything they got, but then they need to be given back on an equal order so that nobody's above anybody else. You can't be making somebody feel lower than you and you're above them and expect anything to ever work out. That leads to resentment, which leads to drama, which leads to destruction. We're not living back in the traditional times. And how successful was the traditional times? Well, it appears from our view that it was successful, but I don't think it was as successful as people think it was. Because when you put yourself above another human being, which you don't belong, the people that you think you're above will resent you. Look at the power the women are wielding over men right now. And look how they're treating men with that power. Look at people in positions and how they treat people that are lower than them. And really seriously think about that. Because in reality, when you do this, you're setting yourself up for destruction. Can I tell the story of the haunting of my old house again? You mean the house I grew up in? Yes, this is real. This quite happened. My whole family experienced it. The house I was raised in that I grew up in did have a ghost in it. I know people don't want to believe it and they want to come up on cop outs and all this other stuff. But no, it was real. It was as real as the car you climb in and drive to work. Okay, but it's a long-winded story. So yes, but there was things that happened that shouldn't have happened. Okay, one thing that I do know is for years we all saw this little cloud float between our dining room and into our bathroom. Broad daylight, nighttime didn't matter. And you would look at this and see it floating and you would ignore it and rub your eyes, think you're seeing things, but then you're not because everybody's seeing it. When you went to approach it, it disappeared. Years later, I'm an adult. I was watching a documentary on hauntings when they actually captured the same type of cloud we saw our whole life on film, on a camera, and they zoomed in on it, and in the middle of that cloud was a human face. And then they tracked that human face down to the original owner of the home that the haunting was happening in. And I was like, wow, I was so impressed when I saw that because then I realized the house I grew up in, which was over 100 years old, that the ghost that we had in that house was probably the original owner. But people are not created equally. I'm going to answer your question on that. Are you a human being? And if your answer is yes, of course I'm a human, is a woman a human being? And if your answer, of course she's a human being, well, of course she is because she had a baby that was a human. Of course there's going to be biological differences. She has different parts in her body because she's the one that gives birth to the baby. And if it was the man that gave birth to the baby and the woman that didn't give birth to the baby, you would have different organs in your body. But that doesn't make you less human than her. The problem is we've used these differences to skew And we've used them as a weapon against one another, carrying out the elite agenda. Because when you use the differences between each other as a weapon, you're asking for division, you're asking for trouble, and you're creating the trouble through your behaviors by doing that. When I say men and women should be equal, I'm not talking about everything we want or have. I'm talking about the laws and the rights that we have. Right now, women have more of them than we do. When I say a relationship is 50-50 and is how you treat each other, that a woman and a man have to become best friends and more than just best friends to find real love, I'm not joking with you. When I tell you if I've experienced real love in my life, I'm not lying to you, I have. The reason people can't find it in today's society is because they're messed up. You can't focus on the differences between men and women and start wielding them as lower than you or yourself as lower than them, or use them as to say they can't, because I'll tell you something that's absolutely true. You're going to say, but the man's physically stronger, engineered. You're going to say, no, it's not. And I'm going to say, yes, it is. Because I'll tell you what, my dad's mother beat the shit out of my dad, and he was no weakling. He was a very strong man when he was in his 20s. My dad's mother split wood with an axe by hand. She grew up on a farm back in the olden days, and she was out there working with the rest of her brothers and her other two sisters. And she was expected to do everything the boys did. And she grew up very stout and very strong, very physically strong. Most men that thought they were going to do something to her would have had their ass handed to them. And she knew how to fight, and she was as strong as any man there ever is. But nowadays, like when my son was in school, he gymnasium, he had a weight. His gym teacher was this physical workup guy who had weights in there, and he started the boys out at one weight and the girls at another weight that was a lot lower. Women have the potential to be every bit as strong as a man. And if you think I'm wrong about that, it's because you don't know. Because it is true. But we pamper women and we do everything for women, and we actually condition them to be weaker than men. Because my dad's mother was not weaker than men. You can say, well, that's just an exception. No, that's not an exception. She was a female. It's not an exception. It's the fact that the facts are she wasn't pampered. The facts are she had to be out there doing the same work the boys was doing. The facts are she was splitting wood with an axe by hand. And I know a lot of men that can't even do that. So that's just the reality right there. Every year women are killing men. And because she's weaker, don't mean she's weaker in the mind. Don't mean she couldn't pick up a baseball bat and take your head off. See, that's the issue, is there's too much division and too many people focusing on, but women are created, okay, are not created equally, or blah, blah, blah. And you focus on all these differences. But these differences has been put there so that we would fight over them. Don't you understand that? Every form of division that could be created has been created. Okay, well, no, the one being silly right now would be the YouTube lover. Okay, you would be being silly because you have fallen for the BS lies and the propaganda and believing it hook, line, and sinker. You're not willing to open your eyes. So the only one being silly right now is that of yourself. If you wonder why you fucking relationships are in the shape they're in right now, it's because of the behaviors of people. And the behaviors that people are representing is only fueling the fire. I'm all for Project Mayhem because it's about taking the power back. But at the same time, you take it back, you got to understand what the truth is and not repeat history, or you're going to be right back in the same boat you're in right now. Because then what you're going to do is you're going to actually suppress the women down, loading power over them. You don't want them having power over you, but you're willing to have power over them. You can't do that. It's wrong. It doesn't matter. Nobody's boss. Nobody wants to feel that they're freaking a slave to somebody else. Nobody wants to feel that way. That's not a gender issue. Okay, well, that's something else, Ron, because you're getting into some real old stuff that people don't even know. And there's too much personal information out there, and I'm not going to reload that. So bring up questions that are relevant to the day's time. I didn't mind answering the questions about the house, but now you're asked, I was asked about Jerry. Now you're going back to Robert. Okay, next you're going to say Dwayne. Then you're going to say Steve Hoka. So no, I don't want to go there. Ask something more legit, okay? What is a sex code? To YouTube lover, okay, what are you calling a sex code? But I'm not lying to people. I'm trying to help you. But you cannot help them who don't want help. I put the tools in your face, and I've told you people have to back up and start looking at their own behaviors and do one-to-one as you want done onto yourself. I've given people tools in their face if they would just apply them. Back when TFL first come out, in the first year and a half to 2 years is when I got my most views. And I was hitting upwards of 10 to 11,000 views per day per video. And that's no lie, that's factual. I got up to 2,500 subs and YouTube took my channel down. Then they started censoring me. And now I had my other channel that got up to like 2,600 subs and they yanked my channel down with no strikes, no nothing against me. Just bam, my channel was gone. Same thing all over again. If anybody ever kept track of my subs on the current channel that I'm on now, you watch them go up 3, 4, 5 subs and then go back down 3, 4, 5, 6 subs. You watch the sub list stay right where it's at and stay right where it's at and stay right where it's at, even if I get people subbing to me. Then it'll go back up 3, 4, 5 hits, then it'll go back down again. Then they will allow it to grow 20, 30 points, then they'll take 4 or 5 away again. And this has been going on for years, is to keep the channel from growing. It's called censorship. No, this never been about views or attention. I'm not here for money. I'm not here for views. I'm here to try to help people. That's what I'm here for. And I've experienced real love in my life. My ex, my first person I was with after 28 years old, we were together for a long time. And she really did love me. There was not a doubt in my heart about it. And she proved it through her actions. She had chances to cheat on me, and she wouldn't do it. She would not do it. Her love was genuine and real. It was only after being persuaded into an alternative lifestyle that I talked about on my last live stream that things went downhill. Okay, it was only after that things went downhill. Then I wound up ending it myself. And it was one of the hardest things I ever done because I loved her. The love was real. Took me over 4 years to get over her. And that's no lie. I had a lot of years with her, and the love was real. And the love was actually real between the two of us. So anybody says real love don't exist, don't know what they're talking about. Yeah, she's the one that started. She's the one that wanted to do it at the beginning. Okay, she's the one that got persuaded into that. Okay, and I went along with her until I didn't like it, and then I stopped. No, we're not doing this, and she never stopped, and that is what led to the end of the relationship. So no, it's not a good thing. I think it's just, I agree with some of what people said out there, but I'm still not going to attack people because our world's so messed up right now. So messed up. I think if we're ever going to correct this world, first off, the men have to rise up together and fight for the same thing. And we do have to take the power back away from the women. Okay, and that needs to happen across the board. But I'm not saying keep it away from women. I'm saying once women come to their kind of dang senses and you can start bringing men and women back together again, there can't be a boss. If you want a lifetime relationship with a female and raise kids and grow old together, then you have to look at each other as human beings. You got to get off this dominant and submissive BS because nobody wants to feel that they're lower than their partner. Nobody wants a boss. I don't care what your gender is. Nobody wants to be told what they can and can't do when they're an adult. And even though women act like children, how could they ever grow up if you won't treat them like a grown up? And then if they act like a children after they're being treated like a grown up, then you have to do what you have to do when it comes to survival. But it should be equal chance for both because it is 50-50. Real love does exist. See, my ex worked with me. She wasn't good with finances, so I'm the one that took care of the finances in the house. But she knew everything I was doing. Nothing was ever hid from her. We didn't consider each other's boss. We didn't try to dictate each other. And for a successful relationship, you have to be friends and you can't dictate each other. You can't. We have to, we have to rise up and we have to start fighting back. And you have to strip the women of the power they have and give them no choice and no alternative to ever be with a man. And once if you go long enough with women in mass numbers not able to get a date in their life, living TFL, the women will actually start rebelling, but then they'll start thinking too. Then they'll be more willing to listen. Okay, then you can actually affect change. And then if you ever can get to that point to affect change, you want a very successful relationship, we can't go back to the olden days and fix it because it was full of holes that led to where we're at now. That's how it was easy to socially engineer people. It would be harder to social engineer in a society and brainwash people if the adults of the family both know what they were doing. Because you wouldn't be able to separate people who really love each other. When the woman really loves the man and the man really loves the woman, there is no man that can come between them. And that love is only going to stay strong and last if you're treating each other properly. And that don't mean it's a power exchange. Because a power exchange is nothing but putting yourself over the top of somebody else. You know, we're all human beings, men and women alike. No, that's actually not so. I don't agree with that. The problem is our behaviors. And that is no lie. That is the problem, is our behaviors. First off, sex don't belong at the top of the list. It belongs at the bottom of the list. Second off, men and women have to become friends and best friends. No, we're not animals. That's propaganda. I don't care what the animals do. We're not animals. We're above that. We can control our behaviors. You know, well, my dad's mother didn't need protection from some man because she could most likely beat the shit out of a lot of men. Where was you a few minutes ago when you understood that the physical strength of a female is because of social engineering? My dad's mother grew up on a farm in the old days. She split wood with an axe by hand. She worked in a canning factory, grew her own field, fucking had an acre of land she was farming. She was the one out there picking and doing them crops. She was the one, she had wood burning stove to cook her food on, wood burning stove for heating her house. An outhouse outside. There was no bathroom in that house. An old pump on the kitchen counter that you had to prime and pump the hell out of to get water out of the well outside. And she took an axe and split that wood by hand. And she did it all summer long. Chopped trees down with an axe. And she could beat the shit out of any grown man. She was just like fighting a man. And she was a she. Then when my son was in high school, he had a gym teacher that lifted weights. And that's what he wanted all the students to do. And he put very low weightage on it for the girls and freaking put 40 more pounds on it for the boys. Don't fool yourself and think that women are weaker than men. Because you're a man, you're somehow stronger. Or one day you might find you getting your ass handed to you by a female, and then you'll be all embarrassed wondering how that happened. You know, I mean, I could go back. You can't go back to the caveman days. They're over. We're not hunting and gathering and protecting our female because she's got a baby in her stomach. She's now in the workplace and you see all the corruption. But a successful relationship is going to be based out of becoming friends. And it isn't going to be based out of she has to submit. That you're the man, you're the masculine, you're the dominant. Because now what you said is she's your slave. Whether you want to just call her a slave straight out, but that's what you're treating her like. Nobody wants to feel lower than somebody else. Do you like being told what you can and can't do? Do you like being controlled and dictated? None of you like to be controlled and dictated, and you can't never change anything through the same behaviors. Okay, I'm going to stop right now, and I'm going to let you. Right now, I'll let DL ask this question, okay? Because I got many of them coming at me now. Then I'll address YouTube, your turbo lover again. But right now, let DL ask the question, because I just doing one at a time here. Okay, I understand you, okay? So what you're saying is, okay, I'm just going to read it. So he says, I'm saying that as a strong person, if the person is a man, society is finding less and less value in strong men. Okay, and then he asked me, what do you or what would you cause that be more valuable? Okay, well, viable. Well, the thing is this, that is deliberately done to piss the men off, to keep the women in a power position because power absolutely corrupts the human mind. These women don't want to lose their control, their power over the man. And you have a criminal elite and criminal government backing the women. You have no fault divorce courtrooms backing the women. You have the Violence Against Women's Act saying a man can't even be a victim of domestic violence. You have double standards. You have complete corruption. It's deliberately done to divide the genders and keep the fighting amongst the genders going. The war of the genders is as real gets. It's been on for too long, so these women ain't going to want to lose that power. And they're going to struggle to keep the power and get more power because power absolutely corrupts. It's just like greed. They never get enough, never get enough. And they already have more than us men. And so this is why I agree with Project Mayhem. Bringing men together, the manosphere together, and fighting back. But you got to recognize your real enemy. Your real enemy isn't so much the women as it is men. It's the people at the top. Okay, your real enemy has to be your elite, the people at the top, because they are responsible for this. So they have to be stopped first. The women have to have the power taken away from them and actually has to have no options left at all. Yes, it's going to piss them off. And that's going to have to go on for some time before the women will start backing up and thinking. Because you're going to have to force the behavior to make them think. And if you can get that done, then you could actually start straightening up society. But we cannot go back to the old days neither. Because too many loopholes left it open for social engineering. And it's no matter what people say, the answer is simple. No man wants to be told what to do by a woman, and no woman wants to be told what to do by a man. It's not about who's the boss in the house. Okay? It's about willing to work together. See, true love does come from friendship because true love exists. I know it from experiencing it. True love does exist, and yes, women can love. The reason women don't love right now is because they have no reason to love. They got a lot more gang for selfishness. Divide and conquer. It's not that women can't love because they can. It's not that women can't stand by you because they can. It's not in their nature. It's been programmed. And this is what people are missing on. They don't understand that. My last live stream wasn't about living that lifestyle. It was showing you something that's been going on for, I can't even tell you how long. I'm 58 now and didn't even know about it until I was 48, and people there's already whole communities, you know. And I'm not saying it's right, because I also think it helps to destroy our society. Because I know when my ex is the one that introduced me to it. And I know what it did to the relationship between her and I. So I'm with you on that it was destroy society. But you got to look, the reality is what I said about that is this. So many people don't know about it, and we're still in the shape we are. So it's not merely just that's destroyed our society. But I do agree with you. I don't think it's a good life for anybody to live. But I can't sit there and tell a bunch of people that are living it all over the world how wrong they are, because you're just going to get into a fight for what? Telling them how to live? It's just not worth it. We already have too much division, too many other things on the plate that we need to fight. And we need to go up against and start going after the elite and stopping the people that's behind this. It's sort of like Steve Hoke could tell you to go after the root cause. We have to go after the root cause, because it does no good if we don't take out the cause first. Once the cause has been removed, then we can work on correcting people's behaviors, and that's going to have to be done on an individual basis. That's why I try to give people the tools. And one of the major tools is to recognize right from wrong and try to recognize your own wrong behaviors on a personal level and try to practice doing unto somebody else that you want done unto yourself, regardless of gender. We have to stop focusing on the differences in genders, because that was also deliberately done to keep us divided. They wanted this war between the genders. They want us divided. And we can't beat them if we don't do the right things. And that's really where that comes from. It's not about anything else. I agree with Project Mayhem. I agree with bringing the manosphere together. And I agree with standing up and taking our power back. I'm all on board with that. And if we could ever turn this around, then yeah. No, this is where you're wrong. See, your turbo lover would keep the division going. Your turbo lover would just have history replaying itself again and again and again, which you're already experiencing. Because to follow his advice would only repeat history. Nope, that's just totally wrong. Nobody needs a boss. So a turbo lover, so you would like somebody else to tell you what you can and can't do, huh? So you'd like to be a slave, right? So do you like being a slave then, turbo lover? You don't mind being told what to do? No, that's an honest question for you. So the turbo lover, do you want to be a slave? Do you like being told what to do? There is no such thing as wearing the trousers. I've already said that. Nobody wears the pants in the house. Yeah, I could agree with Dio there. Turbo Lover could probably jump into that society, the alternative lifestyle, and find himself a submissive woman, somebody's willing to be a slave. That might fit him best, okay? With what he's saying, because the obvious answer, or the obvious truth is this: this is not a gender issue. Nobody wants to be told what they can and can't do and feel they're lower than the other person. And that is not a gender issue. And I'm not even going to go into the color, because that's racism. See, so now what you're doing is helping the elite. You could go side with the people who created this problem, because at this point, Turbo Lover's doing a good job. He's doing a good job of keeping all of the division and the fighting and the wars going, because he don't want a peaceful society where people get along. Women cannot make babies without men. Not naturally, that is. And the baby's genes is half the woman's and half the man's. So get off of that. See, I think this turbo lover is probably more what, an agent, a plant, who's wanting to keep an agenda of the NWO going, who likes to see wars, destruction, and death. That's maybe who this turbo lover is. I'm sorry. You're not going to have that unless you work on it. And you're not even pushing natural laws. So don't even say that, because the natural laws isn't what just coming out your mouth. What you're typing is not natural laws. Why don't you go tell that to Mark Passio and see how far you get as you get run over with the real truth? That's correct. Electronic Man's right. Takes two to tango. Them genes are half the man's and half the woman's. Yeah, see, so Turbo Lover, we already know who he is. He's most likely a Sheila plant or something like that, so he wants to keep the division going, so I threw him out of here. I'm not going to put up with that. We don't need that type of division. We don't need blacks and whites fighting one another. We don't need more of that. You can't win a fight or a war with that kind of behavior. And you can never bring the genders back together without first going, well, that's what Project Mayhem I agree with. I do agree with when in doubt. Don't matter what people tell me, I agree with when in doubt. He has a good idea, and I'm going to stand by him on that. The only thing I don't agree with is if we could ever turn this around, you cannot go back to the old school gender roles where you're putting the woman as the submissive. I'm not saying bow down to the woman either. Neither party should be submissive. It's about building relationships that'll last so kids can have a mom and dad. It's about building peace in our society, not more wars and not more division. And we can't keep making the same mistakes and correct anything. And it's not in women's nature like people like to keep spilling. It's been programmed into them, social engineering, and it can be changed. That's why I told people it really starts with self-discipline, recognizing right from wrong, and being willing to do right unto others, do unto others what you want done unto you. It's recognizing our behaviors. And that's not a gender issue. That applies to both genders. We can never correct our society if we're not willing to do the right things. We could just continue to repeat history over and over and over again. And we've already been doing a damn good job of doing that. And now it's time to try something different instead of going back to the same stuff that didn't work to begin with. And I think the first start of that, of course, has to be Project Mayhem and taking the power back. But then it's not about making the woman be submissive or be willing to be submissive. It's about recognizing right from wrong and building a relationship where there is nobody wearing the pants in the house. Because true love does exist. I've already been there and have it. You people wonder why I could have my woman next to me when I'm doing a live stream and talking about this stuff. You wonder why I could have her sitting next to me and not having big fights after it. You wonder why she's here when I'm doing my videos. You might wonder how I done that. I done that because I'm real and I actually know what the hell I'm doing. And because I've been in real love with a person before and I know that females are capable of real love, really caring for you and not running out on you, and it's not in their nature, And I know this to be fact because I've lived it with a female. I know this stuff to be fact. But it's hard to get to that when you're in a society that's so messed up. And that's really where that comes from. I like Steve Hoka. I don't think he's really meaning, I mean, what he's saying is he's not really saying as much emasculate yourself. He's saying we're to a point in time in our society where if a man really wants a woman in today's society, that is what the man has to do in order to get a woman. That's what he's really saying to you. What needs to happen is what When in Doubt is saying. What needs to happen is we need to stand up and put a stop to it. As far as a man wants to be submissive to a woman, that's his business, but nobody should be submissive to nobody. I don't think no man should be submissive to a woman, and no woman should be submissive to a man. We have to form a relationship that's real. If you want a long-term relationship to grow old with a woman and have kids and raise them kids, then you have to start recognizing each other as human beings. I think what Steve Hoka is really trying to tell you when he's talking about telling men to emasculate themselves is not he's meaning emasculate themselves. He's telling you the truth in today's society. If a man's willing and wants a woman in today's society, these are the men women are taking. They're not after the bad boy no more. They want that perfect slave. And it's wrong. So I have to say this. You're better off to go your own way. Okay? Yes, well, the switches, that I'm not going to go after because the common relationship that people been in forever is switches. And that's a personal thing in a bedroom because it's only sex related. It doesn't apply to society. If the woman wants to climb on top of you this time in the bedroom and you've been on top of her the last 5 times and she wants to climb on top of you, that's what a switch is. Do you understand that? But the submissive and dominance, that needs to disappear. Because submissive is looking at somebody as a slave and you're above them. Dominant is being a dictator and being above somebody else. They need to disappear completely. So to DL, that's my answer to that. The switch is, well, that's on a personal level. Okay, you might have fantasies with your wife if you're in the bedroom, blah, 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 with sex. And maybe one time she wants to be on top of you and ride you. That's all that's really about. It's just switching roles between each other in a bedroom. It's not about anything else, and it's not about anybody else, and it's really nobody else's business what a couple do in the bedroom if they love each other. But as far as dominant and submissive, they need to disappear. I mean, and that's just sort of where I come from with that. So that is what I mean by that. I would do away with dominant and submissive. If it were up to me to rebuild this, there would be no doms and no submissives. Because nobody belongs ruling over the top of somebody else. You really got to use your head and think about this. Would you want to be told by something what you can do by a woman? You already know your answer is no. But you also have to understand she's as much of a human as you are. You got to take your mind off the differences because the differences has been engineered to cause division. If you were the one that gave birth to the baby, you would have differences in your body too because you have the organs to give birth to the baby. So we're focusing on our differences and using that as weapons against each other. And that's exactly what the elite want. We're both human beings because the woman ain't giving birth to somebody less than a human being. Yeah, reality is not. This is why I say if we went with when in doubt, and if men could decide to stand together and fight for the same cause, then we have to go after the elite and do away with the people who's done this to us. You got to take out the root problem first. Then, after you get rid of the root problem, then and only then can we work on straightening up the relationship between men and women. And to straighten it up properly, you cannot look at yourself as she's submissive, because what you're doing is you're putting yourself above her again, which is going to cause resentment and friction and drama. But you can't let her run you over neither. It's not about who wears the pants in the house. Exactly, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Because you have to recognize that no more than you want to be told what to do, neither does she. This is the reason I brought compromise up. Because we all have times, no matter who you're with, that you're not going to agree. That's normal. That's supposed to happen. But it doesn't mean we have to fight. When you have a disagreement, you just got to learn how to compromise to solve it so it don't turn into drama or fight. That's really all that's about. It's about really no more than that. So when you say the framework, that's correct. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about being her boss or her being your boss. Because you got to do away with that behavior. That behavior is what's destroying us. But I hate to do it, guys, but I've got to get off here. But what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to at least once a week, I'm going to try to do a live stream out with questions and allow people to ask me questions, and I'll try to answer them, okay? And I got to try to get better at this, try to just focus on letting people come in, ask questions, and I'll answer them with my opinion. And then if you want to have a debate with me, we can have a debate off of that, as long as other people get a chance to ask a question too. But I think that's what I'm going to start doing, is at least once a week a live stream answering questions to give everybody a chance to ask questions. But people like that turbo lover, no, I'll get rid of people like that, because I don't want division and I'm not going to keep the old same stuff going. But anyhow, with that, guys, I got to get out of here because I have to go pick up Heather. So my time's running out. So I'm going to get on out of here, and you all have a good one.